airline operator Comair, which operates Kulula and British Airways, has resumed flights in South Africa, and this was after a temporary halt in July in response to the level 4 of the COVID-19 lockdown regulations. Comair CEO Orsmond joins me now to discuss the developments. Mr. Orsmond, thank you very much for your time. So after the halting of services on the 5th of July, how has day one been of the resumption of flights?
Yes, thank you. It's wonderful to be back in the sky, especially on spring day. All the birds are singing, the aircraft in the sky. If you look up, you'll see some green aircraft and some blue and red aircraft, which are ours. In fact, there are, I think, about 100 flights a day that we've introduced.
Yeah.
And when we suspended operations on 5th of July, when the level 4 regulations prohibited air travel in and out of Gauteng, we announced we'd restart on 1 September. So we're really pleased and happy that we're flying once again.
Yeah.
The real winner is going to be the flying public here. I think if you see what's happened to airfares over the last 2 months that we've been out of the sky, I mean, they've been horrendous. Airfares have rocketed up, and I'm pleased to see that from today. It seems like all the airlines have dropped their airfares, which is good.
Yeah. Now, the understanding is that during the temporary closure, if you could call it that, you have been busy with some innovative work. What exactly have you been up to? And importantly, is it going to benefit your customers, or should I say your passengers?
Well, if you look at what's important to the passengers, first of all, it's price. The price has to be affordable to make them want to travel and afford to travel. Secondly, it has to be customer service, so we focused heavily on customer service. Really, we need to get down to basic in terms of smiling staff, happy staff, flights on time, excellent service, great legroom, wonderful product. So it's really first price and then service. And then thirdly, it really needs to be easy to book. So we've done a lot of work there where we've launched an app, the Kulula app, which is leading technology. And that's really going to make it a lot easier for our passengers to book. So it's easy to book, great product, and great airfares.
Yeah, COVID-19 has not been very kind to the airline industry, Glenn. The impact of this on your company, but also importantly, your employees. Have you had to let go of some of your staff?
It's really been tough. If you look back over a year ago, the first wave of the COVID and the restrictions forced us into business rescue. 8 months later, we restarted. Things went well. Then the second wave really ripped our heart out in the month of January, February, when they closed all the beaches, closed the hotels. That was really tough. We survived that. And then this third wave, when they prohibited travel in and out of Gauteng, was also extremely tough. So it's been hard on our staff. We have about 1,300 staff, but we're probably down about 700 compared to a year ago. So it's been really tough on staff. The South African travel market, it was about 15 million passengers pre-COVID a year, the overall market, and that's down to around about 10 million now. So the whole industry is forced to adjust in line with the new realities.
Sure. Talking about those adjustments, COVID-19 looks set to be with us and perhaps the world, although the vaccination rollout in very many countries is underway. In your calculated consideration, would you say that the airline industry is probably going to come back full swing, or is it still going to be stop-start?
It's still going to take several years to hit the pre-COVID levels. What we are seeing, as I said, the overall market was about 15 million a year. It's now down to 10 million. And the market that we've lost is all the international connecting, international travelers who used to come into South Africa. That market is gone. And then secondly, the South African business travelers just aren't traveling anymore. They're using Zoom meetings, using team meetings, working from home. So that South African business market, which was half the market, close to half the market in value, is probably down to 10-20% of what it was. So it's going to take several years for the airline industry to recover.
Yeah. Perhaps finally, there is lots of talk about a so-called vaccine passports that either certain industries may look to introduce. Is that something that you as Comair would consider, or is it something that you would rather shy away from?
Look, I think first of all, it needs us all to be vaccinated to achieve herd immunity for South Africa, for the country. It's not particular to the airline industry. In terms of the airline industry, we need to wait our line in the queue. There's no shortcuts, so it's per age group, and we are following those rules. Flying is extremely safe. It's safe on board an aircraft than in a restaurant or if you use any other mode of travel. So flying is safe in terms of risk, which is great. Ultimately, though, it's not an airline issue. Whether we need vaccine passports, it will be a South African government issue, and we will pay along whichever way they choose to go.
Yeah, and perhaps as I let you go, you talk about flying being very safe as opposed to being in a restaurant. What makes it safe being on a flight? Why is it that there are reduced chances of contracting COVID-19 if you are on board a flight?
Look, it's quite scientific, and they've released studies from IATA and so forth, but it's all to do with an airline's aircon system that is blowing through the aircraft and bringing in fresh air and blowing out the old air on a continuous basis on a flight. In terms of the temperatures and in terms of the systems that the air passes through, the virus can't survive that. So I think there's no recorded case of anyone contacting the virus while on a flight. So it really is not an issue at all in terms of spreading the virus.
How do you explain mask wearing, though?
Makes everyone feel better, I suppose. I'm probably not allowed to say it anyway.
I caught you there. All right, Glenn Orsmond, thank you very much for your time. He is Comair CEO. They've resumed flights today after halting services on the 5th of July owing to the level 4 of the lockdown.